Hey guys, Caponana Studios here, and we're here with another weekly video. This week we'll be focusing on the UI. It's a huge part of our game, considering that all the different modes will require a very clean and user-friendly interface as we're combining all the different genres together. We've had a few updates since the last build. We've actually had the town center updated to incorporate the Great Hall, which this is being revamped a bit. Over here we have the spot for the Great Fire. This will be the community meeting place for everybody at the beginning, and then the central water supply with the well, and then the entrance in here. And then you're seeing our buildings right now, they basically carve out an entire area, so it's basically chopped this whole area to the side of a mountain. And because of that, we have obviously this issue we showed last week where it's sometimes not updating the meshes to show that has been carved out. So we're seeing the underbelly of our entire terrain area. But okay, so UI, extremely important. Last week we showed very quickly the city sim mode. We've actually incorporated the very first core block, and it's been talked about a bit in some of our articles in the past, but the core blocks are your ability to interact with the world. So we have a reference texture in right now with this block here, which is considered the city sim block. And when we use this is what brings up our city sim mode. So we showed this last week. Nothing really has changed drastically in terms of the interface for it. But that was one of the interfaces we showed last week. Now, the rest we kind of jumped through in here, but we didn't go into too much depth in each one of these. So I'd like to focus this week on what these accomplish and how they factor in the entire game. So inventory, we pulled a lot of emphasis from Wasteland 2, one of my personal favorite games, and some of the earlier RPGs, Dark Sun, Titan Quest, where they got the full equipment slot, character doll, things like that. So categories make it easier for you to go and show a certain subset of items. We have weapons, armor, ammunition, medical, raw materials, and then you can show all of them. The way we're approaching it is that there is no limit to the amount that can be stacked in one spot, and we won't be going the route of a Diablo or Titan Quest where an item can take multiple slots. Wasteland 2 did this as well. So everything will always be one slot. Certain items can be stacked, certain other items cannot. Now, from this point here, you can click on items and plug them into your various slots inside here. So you got your left and right hand, which also plays out with the loadout on the bottom. I'll get into in a second. And then all your slots, head, body, rings, belts, all that kind of stuff, which will have various benefits within the game. Storage, so we show the weight here. Weight is your whatever you're at right now versus your max. The storage slot is a very important aspect of the game here. So everything here has weight. So you can keep filling this up here, it doesn't matter, this actually scrolls down forever. And if it's all very light items, you can have a million items in here. But once you hit your weight limit, you start getting encumbered. This allows you to increase your weight, and it'll actually increase the max if you have a backpack on here. And then there are different things in the game like magic bags, bags of holding like in the old Dungeons & Dragons stuff, that will not only increase the weight but decrease the weight of everything within your current inventory. So rather than going the route of multiple bags and multiple containers opening up all over the place to put stuff in, everything just shows up in one centralized inventory system here. And then you have this as a modifier for how that is interacted with. Now everything through here is based off of your loadout. So we talked about this vaguely last week. Q is going to be your abilities, your consumables. So this would be a potion that you want to have easy access when you're running around to heal yourself or throw something at somebody, whatever it is. G, which will be on here, will be your grenades or throwable items. This will be rocks and throwable potions, things like that. And Z is an ability which will be set within the abilities tab for some special ability outside of just your normal weapons and spells, things like that. And your loadout is your ability to switch between various setups you have. So right and left hand can coordinate with right and left mouse. And this would be sword, shield, sword, pickaxe, sword, spell, two spells. It could be separate spells or combined spells. Sword and torch, whatever you feel out of those 6 slots, and then you could switch these by the 1 through 6 keys at runtime. Character focuses on the stats and skills from your character itself. So we show strength, endurance, dexterity, willpower, perception, etc., etc. is all the various stats. They're your primary stats that drives all the other stats within the or skills in the game. Every skill tends to have a primary stat that it connects into, as well as secondary stats. So as those stats increase, the skill works better. The skills themselves also increase the stats if you're using them often, so it's a cumulative effect. And then on the right here shows specific information. Right now we just have the blueprint thing pasted in here, but specific things about the stat you have currently selected. Now in your stats show, this actually being switched out right now, but we originally had a breakdown of basically a pie chart showing your progression through it, but it's more or less now stats show like this, and then your skills show the same thing, and you can progress through your skills an appropriate amount. We're kind of breaking the system down more right now. We actually had conversations between a few of us the other day where depending on your stats determines how many skills you could effectively max out. So the higher the stats, the more you can do, or you could spread them around and be more of a jack of all trades. There's never a limiting factor. So even if you are going to play as a brute warrior type, you might go and do strength, endurance, maybe in dexterity, and that's it. So your intelligence and a few others, assuming intelligence is what determines how many skills you can max out, might be low, but you're only focusing on like weapon skills and armor and something else anyway. So you're not limiting yourself, but you've also increased the stats a lot higher, so you're a lot more effective at what you're doing. Or you could bump your intelligence up really high and then have a lot less in the other stats and have a lot of skills to work with, but they may not be as effective. So it's more the choice and consequences thing of the system. Status shows your character. This would be anything that's affecting the character right now, the name, your title currently, any injuries to your different body parts. You might have seen this like Fallout games, very similar concept here. Status effects, everything is affecting you right now for it. And then the looks like the history is not activated yet here, but you have a history around your character, so everything you do can show up within a history, and that will actually play a big part in how things function within the game. Abilities. So first part here is the actual abilities. You have all the abilities you have currently available. These can be hooked into the Z slot. So basically a certain ability that enhances something you're doing, you can go and plug that in, and then you can use that when you're running around. We're trying to steer away from a hot bar with a bunch of different skills you use and abilities, whatever it is. It's going to be like one basic thing, kind of like the shouts in Skyrim, as opposed to an MMO kind of game. Spellmaker is an interesting one here. So this has a similar interface to inventory, but this would show a whole bunch of runes, and these are runes you find within the world. They're trained to you, and you actually build spells. There's 8 runes right now. This is only showing 6 because it's all you can do yourself. And you basically plug runes in here, and it spits out a spell. And then as you progress using your spell abilities, you can start doing more than 1 or 2 rune spells, and they just get more and more powerful. But you'll have a wide range. It's basically 8 runes. We're going to have 8 runes per element, and then you can combine them however you want, and then each of the runes affects how the spell comes out. So it's drawing from elements of games like Magicka, where you kind of craft the spells over time, as opposed to fireball and lightning bolt, and that's it. You can experiment and build special spells this way, and we'll go into more depth in the future. But you also have runic magic, which is able to generate new runes as well as modify the runes that currently exist. So you might go and do fireball, which might be 3 fire runes, and then do another runic type of rune at the end here that multiplies it so it shoots 3 fireballs out. So you're going to have a wide range of stuff if you like spell-based things. Quests, pretty cut and dry. You have your active quests you're working on, all the information you need for it. We're trying to make it as interesting to you as possible, so you can approach it where you don't deal with any kind of quest markers. You can just go through and read the progress, read your journal for every little update that happens around a mission, that an NPC tells you a certain thing, whatever it is. Or you can turn markers on. There'll be an option on here if you want to have it just direct you towards where you need to go. A lot of options in here will be available. Any inactive missions would be basically anything that you don't want to be actively following, and then anything you've completed so far. Rumors is very similar. It kind of encompasses what a lot of games do for a miscellaneous tab. So rather than overloading you with a whole bunch of missions, we shifted to rumors, and this is basically all the stuff you hear as you're walking around. You can choose to act on it or not. they'll just stay in here. You have the ability to actually remove stuff out of here if you could care less about the rumor. But if it is something that interests you, you can follow the rumor until you meet the people that starts the quest that's associated with it, and then it would convert it over to an actual quest. Okay, blueprints. So this is a huge part of the game here. Everything is a blueprint. The buildings, weapons, vehicles, everything. So every blueprint that you know, whether you've purchased the blueprint or whether you've created something, shows up in here, and they're broken into various categories, so it's easy for you to find it within effectively an encyclopedia, which this will grow as time progresses. Now, what will happen here is the blueprints will show up as what resources you need to generate them, what it does, what it looks like, and the vendors who either are interested in buying the rune or the blueprint, or sell blueprints that are similar to what you're trying to get through there. This blueprint can be spit out as a paper equivalent of it that you would give to, say, a work crew to go out and actually build whatever that blueprint is. So you can go through and generate a house and spit a blueprint out, and then if you want to make a whole bunch of those same houses, instead of you having to go brick by brick to build it, you can just sell that out to or give it to a work crew, and they would go and build 10 of these exact duplicates of whatever you design. So it gives us an easy access on the AI side to recreate a lot of things, while also making it easy for you that when you put this into a core block for a house, it will give you a breakdown of what blocks you need and the outline of where you got to put everything to put together the exact same object. Culture, so I think we showed this real quickly in the last one here. This is going to show reputations with every culture, every faction within the game, which is very important. You know, you don't want to end up going to a culture who hates you. You'll know about it if you've interacted with them here, and then you're not going to get yourself killed walking over to the culture itself. This will be, I think, as I said before, as a notepad, so you can type whatever you want in here. If you want to go and jot some notes down about what you're accomplishing right now, then by all means drop them in here, and then we are looking into systems to attach these to map markers, so you can put a real quick note down that, you know, over here is a nice place to loot, you know, an old building or something like that. So you pick up as much as you can before you're over encumbered, and then you run away and come back, and there's your marker there with the information about what's happening there. Or maybe there's a bandit camp that keeps attacking places, so you mark it off so that you don't go in that area and get attacked by your trade caravans or something like that. And that map will be pretty cut and dry. Mapping system is very interesting within Imagination, so there will be a mini-map from day one, but the mini-map function is based on memory until you start getting into cartography. So as I move around, if I hit the same chunks over and over and over again, they stay within memory, so therefore you have them in your mini-map. If I just made one path to a location and come back, then those chunks disappear from memory. They won't show up anymore. Now, if you start doing cartography through our scribing skill sets, and you have paper or parchment or some sort of writing thing, and then writing utensils, then you'll basically make a crude map as you're going everywhere, and that will be what empowers the mini-map and this map to actually show something that is useful. As long as you have those maps on you, which to ease inventory doesn't overload things, they will be kind of plugged in almost like a blueprint sort of thing, as well as a section in here. You'll have those maps available, and those maps become very crucial because the AI will utilize maps to determine where to go. So if you map out an area and it shows a forest, now that forest is applicable for that culture to go through and start utilizing it to build up any kind of lumber, logs, forestry camps, things like that. Or if you show two different towns from two different cultures, they may start using the route that you took to do a trade route between the two. You know, so it's got a lot of power in terms of how this will affect the game itself. So that is the system overall, besides the core block for this one here. Now, we're going to keep expanding these out. Over time, we're expecting to have at least another 2, possibly 3 big UI elements within the game. We're going to have the local RTS mode, your Age of Empires, StarCraft that we're currently working on. We're going to have the global RTS, which is your Civilization, Crusader Kings, Stellaris, stuff like that. And then we're looking at an intermediary between the two there to handle, depending on how you as the commander is affecting how armies are controlled. So if you want to stay in a town within the Great Hall and you want to coordinate your armies at a distance, then it's a different interface than if you actually are at the battlefield doing your typical StarCraft, Age of Empires, I'm controlling all the units kind of stuff. So once they are complete, then our interfaces are fully in, and it's more of knocking out the rest of the game logic to support all those, which we are making some very good progress right now. AI is moving really well. Pathfinding is working a lot better. We had some issues recently with that. So looking pretty good. So next video, we'll probably start getting into actual functionality within the game itself here. So getting back into being able to dig and place blocks, put together actual buildings, more core block types. So maybe focus on putting down a home core block and then showing the outline in the area you can build on. And we'll go from there. But hopefully we have some pretty cool stuff to show over the next week or two. So thank you for watching this, and we will be talking to you in the next week or two. Thanks.